Welcome into a special midnight edition of Sport Ball with Squam, Stogie, and Skulldog. I'm your boy Sam. With me, as always, are these two. Just look at them. Pinnacles of human evolution. The best of the bunch. If your bunch is a bunch of bad bananas, it's Seth and Kyle. Welcome in, boys.
All I gotta say is it's been said before, but it's got to be said again. Put the fucking kids to bed.
Honestly, right now, because it is midnight and we are no holds barred. You won't see a hold barred.
But will the bar be hold?
You might see a bud nipped, but never a hold barred.
You'll certainly see some of Sam's chest hair. But you
figured-
gotta show the hogs before the final, right?
I figured it's midnight. Let's show the hogs. Let the ladies breathe, I always say.
Right.
So how you guys doing? Be honest.
Pretty good. I got power here in Worthington, Minnesota. It has been off and on all day as we had power lines destroyed by or knocked over by a storm. So yeah.
I've been dedicating my life to Game of Thrones rewatch that I'm putting off until the final week. So
he's against the gun.
Since 5 o'clock on Tuesday, I had 42 episodes left to watch before the premiere. I am now down to 28, and I plan on getting at least 2 more done tonight.
He has to watch 28 by Sunday. He doesn't seem concerned.
I'm not. I'm really up for the challenge. This is my favorite type of activity.
All right. I finished the last one, the finale of season 7 last night. And then
it's like an hour and 15 minutes for that one?
Yeah. And then I rewatched half of it this morning because I had fallen asleep last night, obviously.
It doesn't even matter if you fall asleep. You never know what's happening anyway.
Whoa. Not when you watch them all at once.
I think I've got most everything figured out, except
Spoilers.
Why didn't Lyanna just tell her family that she was in love with Rhaegar instead of all of them thinking that she was kidnapped and raped and then Robert's Rebellion starting?
I think it was just like she couldn't because it was an arranged marriage and she has no power like no women do in that world.
Who arranged the marriage?
Me and Kyle.
Ah.
I don't know if she had any birds at her disposal.
The bird is the word, though.
I guess it's unclear like how soon she died after they got married. You know what I mean?
I don't remember that much of that part. I'm about 20 episodes out, so
about any of the characters.
See, you guys are making fun of Sam's making fun of me for not remembering, and yet I'm the one who knows the most at this point.
You're not wrong.
Seth, if I don't see you an arm's length from that microphone, I send you back from this podcast.
What was that?
All right, should we stop fucking around or what here, huh?
Sure.
Now let's keep fucking around.
Yeah.
So this is the NBA playoff preview Palooza podcast, as it is aptly named. Is it a big summer blowout as well? I think you know the answer to that. So that being said, we're going to start with March Madness, if you'd believe it.
Great segue. He's not the best in the business for nothing, folks.
You're damn right. So we wanted to react to the championship game that was Monday, which went into overtime, and Virginia won a thriller. And I want to get some thoughts from you guys. Kyle, why don't you start? I know you want to rant, as you always do.
I don't know. I've just, we've seen a lot of talk about. First of all, I knew it from the start. The Virginia Cavaliers. No one believed them but me and Nick. And Nick still didn't pick them to win, I don't think. So I was the only one to believe.
I knew you'd be insufferable if they won, but I was still looking forward to it, honestly.
You know how much more insufferable I would have been if Duke actually lost in like the second or third round like they were supposed to as well?
Like
Man, you guys really lucked out, let me tell you.
You'd be unable to be suffered, I'll say that much.
Great game. I think a lot of people thought it was going to be, what do you call it, a barn burner when it's like that? Or is it a barn burner if it's a defensive struggle?
No.
Or defensive.
Anytime it's a close game.
You could just call it a defensive struggle.
All right. That was a barn burner, though.
That sure
was.
was.
A barn burner.
Damn right.
That was a good one. I know you. Well, what are your guys' thoughts? Anything?
Well, I think we all want to discuss that out of bounds call because we all disagree on it. So basically, what happened was there was a play where a Virginia player knocked the ball out of a Texas Tech player's hand. I believe it was DeAndre Hunter on the Italian guy from
Moretti.
Texas Tech. Right. Yeah. And so basically, he knocked the ball, but in slow motion replay, it showed that after he knocked it out, it grazed the fingertips of Moretti's hands. And I think both me and Seth feel that while that is the rule, it's against the spirit of the game, you might say. Seth, did you get permission from your dad to read that email?
I did. So I talked to my dad about this because he's a former high school basketball referee and just a fan of the game.
While he's not guarding the King's Guard, he's there, huh?
That's right. And Sammy, he had a small revision from his previous email just because he remembered it slightly differently
Naturally.
than what was actually correct.
I want the opening of the email.
I got you. Yep.
Okay.
So from my father, Joel Kwan, I texted him about it and he responded in an email, as he's apt to do.
Classic.
He said, "Hi Seth, I am writing this on my new iPad Air with attached keyboard.
I love how he just starts off with a humble brag about his new keyboard.
I remember Game 7 of the 2010 NBA Finals. It was actually Game 3. Late in the game, Pau Gasol, it was actually Kobe, knocked the ball out of Kevin Garnett's hands. The ball flew out of bounds, and the referee indicated the Celtics would keep the ball. The play was reviewed, and the video showed that Gasol, Kobe, hit the ball, but as the ball moved, of course, it touched Garnett's fingertips last. So they gave the ball to the Lakers. At that time, I stated that this was a fundamental mistake in the rule. Consider what happens when any player knocks the ball out of any other player's hands. I think that most of these times, the super slow video replay will show that the last touch of the ball was the fingertips of the holder of the ball. This is neither the intent of the principles of basketball nor of the replay system. By my hereby proposed new rule, it should be the case that a ball struck out of the hands of a player is considered to last hit the hands of the striker, unless that ball hits another body part, knee, etc., of the holder of the ball. Thus, the play in the NCAA championship game was called correctly by the technically microsecond by microsecond review of the action, but was not a good adjudication of the truth of basketball. Love that.
So I don't know what strings we need to pull to get that proposal in front of all basketball committees, but I am down for sure. I agree with his rule change, honestly.
As long as once it's proposed, you let them know that it was written on a brand new iPad Air with an attached keyboard. I don't think there's any way they deny it.
They'll never respect it otherwise.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously they called it correctly, but
yeah. Okay, so
Saturday was frozen.
Yeah.
The Blizzard has frozen him out finally.
But yeah, that's the right call.
Yeah.
I understand people don't like it, or some people are just saying like it's not the right call. If you look at the video, it hit Moretti's hand last. Like, if
it's definitely the right call.
You can go in there as a defender and swipe a ball without actually fouling, like it often is when it is often called. You should be rewarded for that, whether you have to take an extended look at it or not. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I think it was called correctly, but I just don't necessarily agree with the way it's written in the rules. Seth is back from the Blizzard, and by from the Blizzard, I mean he ordered a Blizzard from Dairy Queen and is now consuming it in front of our very eyes.
I just had to switch my Wi-Fi. I realized it was still hooked onto my hotspot from my phone.
Of course.
Jeez.
Any other thoughts on this game before we move on?
Go Who's.
Nice one, dude. Do we want to quickly talk about any players that we're excited to see in the NBA?
I made an extensive list, so you guys can talk about who you'd like.
Well, obviously Zion and
Ja.
Which Seth always knew his name was Ja.
Of course.
He thought it was John Morant.
Well, that's when you know that you listen to too many podcasts without, like, I don't know,
reading the written
reading
word.
or like looking at a box score. And I even saw the name like Ja, and I thought like, oh, that's weird. I wonder if his like middle initials A or something, and they're just like doing JA
J.A. Morant.
in like headlines.
Yeah,
Because
it's Jorah.
when you hear it, it sounds like John. If you don't like know, right? So I just heard it on a bunch of podcasts, and it was like John Morant, blah blah, John Morant.
Yeah.
Fast like that. It sounds like John. That being said,
Sure.
I knew his name was Ja the entire time.
That's a weak excuse at best. Well, usually people say my name sounds like same when you say it quickly, but I don't see it. RJ too, I'm excited to see. Really, the top 3 picks are going to be stars, I think, and then after that, most of them will be role players. Maybe there's some gems are hidden. Is Carson Edwards going for the draft? Because I loved watching him play.
He hasn't announced yet,
I don't know how well,
but I think he
candidates
does.
be.
He has to, the way he played in the tournament.
The man might as well have been shooting the fire emoji into the basket.
I don't know why, but you said it was his hair, but I think it's just his style of play. He reminds me of D'Angelo Russell a lot.
Yeah, I don't see the floaters as much though.
Yeah, he likes to finish underneath more than over the top when he drives, but
I think
I'm
one
the
of
same
the
way.
man for my heart, you know.
one of the color commentators said he reminded him of Derrick Rose.
Mm.
Oh yeah, I could see that too.
Way better shooter though.
And not quite as explosive, but
Yeah.
The thing is, like,
the movement.
Carson Edwards, why I think he can actually like make it in the NBA is because the dude just like has no conscience. Like, he doesn't care. Like, there was a time where I'm pretty sure he went like 0 for 7 in a row, and he still kept shooting the basketball because he was like, the only way I'm gonna make it out of this, or we're gonna win, is if I keep shooting the basketball. So he just doesn't care.
He plays like me when I play pickup, but I never actually start making them. Kyle, I want to hear your extensive list, and I want to hear it now.
So you already hit, obviously, Zion, Ja, RJ, Carson. My sleeper, who I think it goes as a lottery pick, not a lottery pick, is lottery top 15? Why am I blanking right now? I do this every podcast. Top 14. There you go. Our big guy from FSU, Mafiondu Kabengele.
Yeah.
Oh, I think I saw him play, actually.
Yeah, we were texting about him, so you guys know who he is. But I think just his skill set, his size, his style of play translates really well into the NBA. And he didn't even start really for Florida State. He came off the bench. He was like their 6th man, but he ended up he averaged, I think, like 26 minutes a game or something like that. So I think a lot of people are going to be surprised when they see his name come up, but I know for a fact he's going to be a 1st-round pick, and I really think he probably goes as a lottery.
Nothing would surprise me. He seems like the type that like really kill it at the workouts, and then people, he starts to climb up the board.
He's just like a really athletic, like power, like he can shoot the 3. He's one of those stretch power forwards, but he's like a freak athlete. So
he's
really want to. Yeah, exactly. Really want to see Jarrett Culver serving up those butter burgers in the NBA.
I love when he serves them cheese curds, baby.
Some frozen custard over there.
And then 2 others. I had Fletcher McGee, obviously. I just like to see him, come off the bench and hit like 4 threes in a row for a team trying to make it to the playoffs, and he'd be the one that clutches it. Really make up for what he didn't do this tournament,
Yeah.
I mean, with a name like Fletcher McGee, he's got to be a star.
Yeah, Fletcher Mithri. And lastly, our boy from Houston, Corey Davis Jr., downhill bowling ball with them thick with the THICC thighs.
Dude, that man, he whipped out the shorts from the 80s, and boy, it worked for him.
He wore regular shorts, but his thighs are so big, they just made his shorts look that small.
His thighs are bigger than my head, dude. I swear to God.
Easily. Whew. Those are the people I really wanted to touch on, so thanks.
He just leaves the podcast.
I'm out.
All right, let's actually get to the NBA, shall we, game? Because, I mean, that's what our 5 listeners want. That's what they crave. That's what they deserve. We're going to start the old big summer NBA playoff. Sorry.
Playoffs? Playoffs?
Excuse me, I'm having a stroke. the big NBA playoff preview, and then we'll finish off the podcast by going through our award winners for the end of the season. So let's start in the Eastern Conference. The first matchup is going to be the 1-seeded Bucks versus the 8-seeded Pistons from Detroit. Seth, why don't you start us off? I want you to tell us which team will win and how many games.
The Milwaukee Bucks will win in 4 games. Next question.
I have the same. Kyle?
Yeah, I agree.
And also what we're going to do for each matchup, which was an idea. I think, Kyle, you had this, right?
Yes.
We're going to have to talk about this in great detail because obviously I'm going to ask for what exactly are the credentials.
I haven't even talked about what it was yet. You're already trying to ask about the credentials. So Kyle came up with this idea to make our podcast really long, basically. And what it is for each playoff team, we name their regular season MVP and their playoff MIP. MVP being most valuable player, MIP being most important player, and MIB being Men in Black. So, so the credentials are thusly speaking, Seth. Not that anyone cares and no one else would ask. The MVP for the regular season would be the player that you think is most valuable to the team during the regular season, what got them in this place in the first place, who do you think is most important during the regular season. The playoff MIP is maybe not the team's best player, but the player you think can swing a matchup if they play really well and would be the key to them going far in the playoffs because they're a role player or a secondary star who needs to play well for them to succeed.
Explained flawlessly.
Some questions that
I have several questions as follow-up. Is the best player on the team disqualified from contention for the most important player in the playoffs?
I did that, but you don't have to necessarily.
I did that as well.
I'm getting strong pressure from my other 2 co-hosts here.
Well, you said you don't have to.
Okay.
Is that it? Do you have any questions?
That was his questions.
No further questions, Your Honor? He's not speaking, but does he have any questions? He's not even looking at me.
So in things that are shocking, I'm looking over here to my right because I took notes for once. I worked on the show beforehand.
What
on
the
my
fuck?
iPad. Here, look.
On his iPad.
Do you have an attached keyboard?
I do have an attached keyboard.
Oh my god!
You can't tell. It just looks like a white screen because of the lighting.
Bring that before the NBA commissioners right now. All right, I'll start us off because since Seth's unclear on the concept anyway.
I'm just trying to think back if I want to change any of them that I have, but I think I'm good.
Okay, great. You do that, and I'll start. So my MVP for the Bucks is Giannis. That may shock you, seeing as he's in contention for the MVP of the actual league.
Oh my God.
I'll just say here he's incredible and their best player. For the MIP, I put Eric Bledsoe because last season I remember him playing poorly in the Celtics series that they lost in 7 games. And they very well may run into Celtics again. And I think that if he plays well this year, that could be what propels him over the top. Because the spacing that the Bucks have not only helps Giannis, but Bledsoe has been doing some nice isolation work with all that spacing. And he has some smooth moves that he can take to the basket. So I think that if he plays well, they can go they'll reach their full potential. Should I go through the Pistons now too, or should I switch to you guys?
You can go through the Pistons.
Okay. So their MVP, I had Blake Griffin because he's their best player, and is this just what we're gonna do for every team? He's their best player, and he's probably on the All NBA teams for me. And I have a shocker maybe for their MIP, Luke Kennard himself. He of the former Duke variety. He's actually been maybe their third, maybe second best player over the last stretch of the season. Once they kind of figured out that they needed more shooting and spacing, and so I think if he plays well, I mean, I don't know, maybe if he has the series of his life, they still gave him the love. We're talking about here, you know. What about you? What do you have for this?
You talking to me?
I said, what about you, Kyle? But I mean,
I didn't
so
hear
is
that either.
Talking to me then, or
yeah, I'm with you with Giannis, obviously MVP. My Bucks' most important player, however, I think is going to be Chris Middleton. I think he showed last year what he's capable of, like in the playoffs, and if he falls off, Bledsoe hasn't been, super reliable throughout the year, like consistently. And are they going to have um, what's his name back? Brogdon back
I don't
or
think
no?
I
so.
don't think for the first series.
Okay, yeah. So I don't know. I just think it's Middleton, but it's really a toss up between the two of them. Pistons. My MVP, that was tough because obviously Blake started so hot. But I think like the second half of the year, Drummond really like just turned a leaf, and like he had to average close to like a 20-20 for the second half, or like at least the last 2 months of the season.
They call that the Barbara Walters.
He probably almost averaged a Barbara Walters, yeah. Um, so I'd lean Blake, but I could see both. And then my most important player for them, that would have to be the other one of the two, Drummond. If one of them is off, like they're not going to win a game, so it doesn't matter.
Sure. Seth, what about you?
Yeah, I think we're on the same page. Obviously, Giannis. I have Blake as the MVP for sure. I took Middleton. I think it doesn't matter in this playoff series, but I think later on in the playoffs between Middleton and Bledsoe, they're going to need one of those two players to step up. I could see needing Bledsoe a little bit more filling in while Brogdon's gone, and depending on if he comes back at full strength. And then, yeah, I have Drummond in there as my most important player. I think that if they're gonna have a hope for winning one game against the Bucks, it'll be because Blake has like 40 and Drummond has 20 rebounds, and they can just dominate the paint.
Yeah, I had Lopez penciled in here for MIP as well because I think that they're going to try to put him in pick and rolls a lot with Reggie and Andre, and he's going to be able to defend those at a high level. And that's really the one question mark on him. But on the other side, he'll be able to stretch Drummond out to the 3-point line, which will be critical as well. So I think that if he plays well enough on the defensive end and stretches out Drummond on the, to the 3-point line on the offensive end, that'll help them a lot.
And is this MIP for the whole playoffs or just this round?
I would say a whole playoffs.
Yeah.
Checks his list, changes every name.
No, I mean you were just talking about like matchups with the Pistons with
For
Lopez,
sure.
but it's not like that it actually matters. They're
Yeah, but that same thing applies to Embiid and Gasol and other players they will probably face in future rounds.
mm-hmm.
Let's move on to the next series. The number 2 seeded Raptors versus number 7 Orlando Magic, coming to you live from Disney. So, Kyle, which team do you think will win it and how many games? And why don't you just go through all your MVPs? Just give me everything.
Raptors, obviously. However, I think the Magic can steal a game, so I
Wow.
think it goes 5. I just don't know, is Kawhi going to have a load management day during the playoffs, especially in the first round against the Magic? If so, I think the Magic can steal that game.
Kyle, didn't you say to me if the Magic play the Bucks, I'm picking the Magic?
I said I was going to highly, highly consider it, yeah.
I can't believe you said that
But
to
this
me.
isn't the Bucks,
But they're
so
playing
I'm
the
not picking the Magic.
Oh, so you have your easy out now, I see, yeah.
I just think they for another day. Season MVP, obviously Raptors, Kawhi. Most important player, you already know, Pascal Siakam.
Mm-hmm.
Magic, the season MVP would have to be Nikola Vucevic.
Vucci!
And most important player is an interesting one. I think it's Terrence Ross, though.
I agree.
6th man for them. Dude's been lighting it up like the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
He's been hot.
And the way that they win games is they defend that 3 really well and shoot it really well, and he's their best 3-point shooter besides Fournier. So if he gets hot, they could maybe steal a game. What are your thoughts, Seth?
So I have Raptors in 4. Definitely Kawhi's their best player. I think with respect to Pascal
Siakam or otherwise?
Siakam, I think so. I picked Kyle Lowry as my most important player because I feel like Siakam has solidified himself as a consistent star on that team, a two-way player, if you will. Whereas Kyle
Doesn't perform in the playoffs.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And so if the Raptors are going to want to reverse the trend of them folding, having meltdowns in the playoffs, it's going to be because Kyle Lowry gets his act together and plays better than he ever has in the playoffs before.
Mm-hmm.
I have a lot of, so that's why I'm saying, like, I think Pascal's going to play well. I can trust Pascal to play well. But if, like, assuming everything goes as we expect, the X factor that they're going to need is Kyle Lowry.
That's fair.
And then I have Vooch and most important player, Vucevic as well, because
that's fair. I thought about it.
And they might as well just put a good showing out there. And the best way to do that is with Vucevic, making it competitive or exciting.
I had a strict rule, which I didn't stipulate at all to anyone else, that I couldn't have the MVP be the same as the MIP. But if you do that, it's fine. It's fine. Whatever. I'm not mad.
Just disappointed.
I agree completely with your Lowry point, Seth. But I had as my MVP Marc Gasol, just to hammer home the point that I've made several times, that I think that matchup-wise in the East with those teams I was talking about with Al for the Celtics, Joel Embiid for the Sixers, they need someone who can defend the post really well, and even against Giannis. And I think Marc Gasol can slow down the best post players in the league, and that's something that the Raptors have never had before. And that just might be what they need to win the East this time around. So I think that's a critical thing for them. I have Raptors in 4.
I don't think Marc Gasol is going to move the needle for the Raptors. I've said it before. I'm saying it again, just for the record.
Yeah, that's why I said this again, too. Is anyone recording this? Okay. Let's go to the number 3 seed 76ers versus the number 6 seed Nets from Brooklyn. Also, can we mention that I picked the New York Knickerbockers to make the playoffs, and they're going to finish with the worst record in the league with 16 wins?
Matt thought they were going to as well. So
it's not just on me.
Their last 3 games really looked good.
Well, if I knew they were just going to go by the Knicks and not the Knickerbockers, I would have never picked them. So I'll start on this one. I think the 76ers win in 6, actually. I think this is a bit of a series. Reason being, I don't know, I just wanted some interest. Okay, what does that make me? I think the 76ers are the better team, but maybe less prepared for the playoffs because they've only played with this team for half a season, you know?
And how healthy is Embiid?
Right, exactly. Embiid may not play in half or all this series. And they're just they might experience a few bumps in the first round just because they haven't played together too much. And I kind of just want it to happen. So their MVP, I said Embiid, MIP. You could go with a lot of players for this, but I would say Ben Simmons, just because in the playoffs we've seen that defenses do not cover him past 12 feet, and that really puts a strain on Philly's offense. So if he finds a way to work around that, then they can reach their full potential. If not, it's probably another second round exit for them.
Who'd you say it was?
I just talked about all this. I talked about all
Simmons for MIP. I just didn't hear the name.
Yeah. And then for the Nets, I have D'Angelo as their MVP. MIP, I'm going to go with Karis LeVert. I thought about a few other names, including I couldn't remember his name, so I just wrote down center with Fro.
Jared Allen.
Classic Kyle Olsen move. But I'm going to go Karis LeVert because he had that grotesque injury early in the season and had a great comeback and is back playing, but maybe not to his full potential. So I don't know if he can be 85, 90% of what he was before that as a second fiddle to D'Angelo. I think that could propel them to at least keep this series interesting.
So I'm just going to jump in because we had the exact same on all accounts. So I had Sixers and 6, Embiid, Simmons, D'Angelo, Karis. The only thing I will add is that not only will it be interesting to see if Karis LeVert can be a second fiddle to D'Angelo, I feel like D'Angelo's production has slowed since Karis came back. Mm-hmm. And so I'm curious to see if they can integrate that into the offense and allow LeVert to be the player he was pre-injury while allowing D'Angelo to continue to blossom in the way that he did during the injury.
For sure.
I think the Sixers will pull it out, but yeah, if Embiid is injured, if Simmons doesn't play well, if Jimmy Butler, gets the ball at the last 20 seconds and misses they seem to just go ISO with Jimmy every time it's clutch, which maybe isn't the best. I mean, it definitely works out most of the time or some of the time, but
Word.
Seth, it's not Seth. It's the other person on this podcast.
what's your name again? I'm blanking.
Ricky Rubio.
Why don't you tell us why the Nets are going to win? That would be a classic pick for you. Come on.
It would be, and I really thought about that one too. No, I like the 6-game call. One, don't really know the status of Embiid's knees. And I was just thinking, you know how weird it is?
Like the bee's knees or they?
Yeah, you can call someone the bee's knees and they're cool, but if you call someone Embiid's knees, it's like your ass, you know.
Can we market that on some sort of t-shirt? I'm always trying to get cash.
Yeah. Yeah. I was thinking of the jingle of like Need Cash Now, and I couldn't remember what it was. So
we'll have something by Monday 8 a.m.
Yeah. MVP obviously is Embiid. The most important player is his knees. No, the most important player I think is probably Tobias. Or no, I'm just gonna stick with Tobias. Nets, D'Angelo MVP.
Mm-hmm.
Most important player though. You ready for this?
Dinwiddie, Joe Harris.
There's 3 men: Rondé, Hollis, and Jefferson.
Holy shit!
Yeah, I think he's the most important player for that series.
Yeah, because there's 3 of them.
That's true. You get an extra man on the floor, extra defender always helps.
Plus, he's their best defender, isn't he? I think, or their best defender.
Yeah. He's just so like athletic. I don't know. It just some days they'll play him like 9 minutes, and other days when they finally decide to play him like 25 minutes, he doubles easily.
So Rondé, Hollis, and Jefferson were all players on my fantasy team this year for basketball, and they're in and out of my lineup like the vagabonds that they are. So I'm really rooting for them in the playoffs. So I'm with you there.
Thank you.
All right, this is the big one. Seth, are you hosed down? Are you all toweled off?
Oh yeah, I am.
Okay. The number 4 seeded Celtics versus the number 5 Pacers. Seth, why don't you start off with this, because this is your beloved Celtics, who we have gone through so much turmoil with this year. Well, me and Kyle have loved it, but I know you have struggled.
Well, I've got Celtics in 5. I think having home court advantage is going to help them, and we've showed recently in the last few weeks of the season the ability to beat the Pacers. So I'm feeling reasonably confident as anyone could be after the tumultuous roller coaster ride of a season. For MVP, I think Kyrie Irving is our best player. However, I think Al Horford is more responsible for getting the team to the point where they are now, which is
I knew that over your dead body would you put Kyrie as MVP.
So whatever that means, I guess that means I have Al as MVP.
Okay.
Even though I know Kyrie's better than him.
Of course.
My most important player is Gordon Hayward.
How can it happen?
I think he's the biggest X factor. Has some games where he looks like Utah Gordon Hayward. He's aggressive. He gets to the line. He's making threes. And then some games where he's completely timid. So if he can turn a corner and put it together for an entire series, then the Celtics are going to be very tough to beat. For the Pacers, I wasn't sure where to put these two. And with respect to Miles Turner, the odometer, I have Sabonis as the MVP, and I have Bojan Bogdanovic as the most important player. I think I could even switch those. I don't really know. But I think Sabonis has been like the most consistently effective and efficient all year. I think Bogdanovic has been very impressive, taking on the scoring load in Victor Oladipo's absence. And he's going to need to continue to do that at a high level and an efficient level in the playoffs if they're going to make a run.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Sabonis overall has contributed more to their success thus far.
I agree. Yeah. I'll just hop in on this. I think this one was one of the hardest ones to pick MVP and MIP because both these teams have so many players that are important to them in kind of a good way for Indiana, where they're just a collective group of players that are better than the sum of their parts because they have cohesion and they have chemistry, whereas the Celtics have so many great players that they haven't been able to mesh well together. So that makes this discussion pretty interesting, I think. I have the Celtics in 7. I could see this being a tough matchup for them just because of what I talked about earlier, where Indiana just knows who they are. Everyone knows their roles. They're ready. They're prepared. The Celtics are a little maybe frazzled after the season they've had. I think they're definitely the more talented team, though, and I expect them to pull it out. I have Kyrie as the MVP because, I don't know, he's just the best player, and I thought it would piss Seth off to have him there. I knew the Celtics in 7 and Kyrie back-to-back would really grind his girdle. For MIP, I have Gordon Hayward as well. I think what you said about him being the biggest X factor is right. I think it's maybe not hyperbole to say that if he plays very poorly, they might lose in the first round. And if he plays as well as he did in Utah, they're capable of winning the finals. I don't know. I don't think that's really hyperbole to say that, right? I mean, we can see a lot of outcomes of this team, and a lot of it depends on how well he plays. For the Pacers regular season MVP, I had Bojan, he of the Bogdanovic twins, who aren't related at all, but in spirit they are. And actually, did you hear on the podcast, the Ringer NBA podcast, where Chris Vernon was talking about that apparently Bogdanovic, they're from Serbia, I want to say.
One is.
Just from the Balkan areas. That's like a Smith over there, basically. So
Yeah.
it'd be like having 2 Smiths in the league, basically.
Well,
But I just like
really,
seeing by.
really, it's more like Johnson, because I believe like Bogdanovich means like son of Bogdan,
Oh, okay.
much like
Just like Olsen means sons of Ol.
And then I have Miles Turner as their MIP just because I think that he brings a sort of rim protection element. That's it. I've said my piece, and I'm happy with it. I am at peace.
Excellent. Kyle?
Great. So I don't think this series goes as long as you guys do. I think it goes 5 games.
Seth does think it goes
I
5
think-
games.
yeah.
Oh, okay. All I heard was Sam say, would you say 6 or 7?
Yeah, that was really just to piss Seth off, though.
That's fair. Yeah, so I got 5 games. You said Pacers know who they are, but we know who the Pacers are too. So
Everyone knows.
they are who we thought they were.
The secret's out.
I don't know. I just think the Celtics are just a much better team than the Pacers, obviously, especially without Oladipo, even though, yes, the Pacers kept going once Depot went down, but just their competition for the year, they had to have had one of the easiest schedules in all of the NBA, just based on teams when I would watch them play, considering they'd be on TV the majority of nights for me. Are we brushing over the fact, though, that Marcus Smart is out for like 4 to 6 weeks?
Yeah, I'd rather
brushed
not
over
talk about it.
But I counted on you to mention it.
Yeah, he's got an avulsion in his somewhere.
Don't we all?
Doesn't he have a torn oblique? Or
An avulsion in his oblique? Is that a thing?
I mean, I am a doctor, so you could ask me.
He has an avulsion of his left oblique abdominal muscle off of his iliac crest. If you wanted to know exactly where in the body this problem is.
Oddly specific.
Yeah, I don't think it really matters for the first round, though. And obviously, you got to go with Kyrie MVP, most important player as well, Gordon Hayward. Seth, you brought up the fact that, you don't really know what you're going to get. If it's going to be Utah, Gordon Hayward, then that's the whole reason that we think, at least me specifically, thinks that they have a very good shot of winning the the finals. And over the last 2 weeks, Gordon Hayward has kind of been consistently like what the Gordon Hayward they originally signed was. He's averaging about, doing this on the fly, by the way, last 2 weeks, he's averaging about 18 points, 6 rebounds, and 4 to 5 assists to go along with about 1 steal and half a block a game.
Incredible in podcast research.
In podcast mathematics, really.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, if he's going to be playing like that, especially in the absence of Marcus Smart, where he might have to take on a little bit more of a load, I just like the fact that he's finally coming on at like the perfect time of the season, and I think he's one of the reasons, obviously, that he is the reason if they make it to the finals that they could win the finals.
I agree wholeheartedly with everything.
Oh, I didn't say anything about Pacers. That's all right.
No,
they're out in the first round.
I agree with everything you said. Let's not discuss that further at all.
Thanks.
Let's breeze through the Western Conference since we're 45 minutes in, and I think we're all sick and tired of being sick and tired. Am I right, boys? So the number 1 Golden State Warriors of Golden State versus the number 8 Clippers of LA. Seth, fuck it. Why don't you start, huh? Just do some goddamn work for once in your life. Jesus.
I've got Warriors in 4. I think the MVP is Steph. I'm going to say most important player is Klay Thompson. I almost said Boogie, but because he's kind of the biggest X factor, but even if he sucks, they'll still win, so it doesn't really matter. I think if Klay, sometimes KD and Steph, go back and forth who has a good game, but Klay's usually the one who's solid. So if he somehow, goes into a big slump like he was in at the beginning of the season, that might be worrisome for them, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think MVP for the Clippers is Danilo Gallinari. I'm not sure who to put for most important player. I kind of want to say Gallinari again because they're going to lose to the Warriors anyways, so there's no X factor that can make a difference, so they might as well just be their best player doing whatever he can. You could throw Montrez in there because you could say Lou Williams. You could say Shamet. Maybe he gets hot from 3, right? But I don't know. None of them are really going to do anything.
Yeah, I think for this, maybe it's which player from the Clippers can cause them to maybe steal a game against the Warriors. That's what I would say. Kyle, what do you think?
Warriors in 4. Steph MVP. Most important player. I'm also with Klay Thompson on the same train. Regular season or Clippers though, MVP, I got my boy Lou, sweet Lou. And then the most important player, in my opinion, would be Pat Beverly.
Mm-hmm.
Lockdown defense. Lockdown. He owns real estate in half NBA players' heads.
Yeah, I have Warriors in 4 as well. Steph is MVP. I'll put Draymond as MIP just because this season this season it seems like he's dropped quite a bit on the offensive end as well as a step behind on the defensive end. Maybe even though I think he still has the talent to be elite when he wants to, but he's got to make some open threes, I think. So if he can't do that, then they may be in a little trouble. I mean, a little trouble for the Warriors might be a drop in the bucket, as they say. That's not how you thought I was going to finish that sentence, did you?
It is not.
Clippers MVP, I have Gallinari. MIP, I'll just say Lou and Montrez together with that pick and roll. I mean, whatever. Maybe if Lou drops 40 and Montrez as a Barbara Walters, they'll win a game. All right, how about the number 2 Nuggets versus the number 7 Spurs? I'll start this one. I have the Nuggets in 7, just to piss Kyle off because he probably has them sweeping. And their MVP is Jokic, obviously. MIP, I went with Jamal Murray because I think he's still their second best player. And if he needs to be good for them to go far in the playoffs, I think. For the Spurs, regular season MVP, I probably should have just put Pop, honestly. I didn't. You know what? I'll do it now. Pop. And then playoff MIP, I went with Derek White because he is this kind of guard that they found after what's his face got injured. Kyle, you know the one.
LeJounte Murray.
Thank you, Seth. Kyle, your voice sounds different. So
Jonathan. Yeah, you're right.
Derek White is a defensive
Jonathan Morant? Is that who he's talking about?
Derek White is a defensive stud and can run the pick and roll to perfection. So if he plays well, they may have a chance of upsetting the Nuggets. Seth, and by Seth I mean Kyle. Tell me your thoughts. That's right, you fool.
Obviously, I got the Nuggets advancing. I'm always worried, when you play against Pop, you don't know what kind of tricks he's got up his sleeves. I still think I know it's the Nuggets, and I'm going to say it's in 6 games. So regular season MVP, you already know it's Big Honey, baby. Most important player, probably got to go with Paul Millsap. But there's a plethora of players that could be the most important in a series, depending on what they need. I think that just speaks to the versatility of the team. They have so many different players that could do so many different things. Spurs, MVP, probably got to say LaMarcus. Did you know that he took over the team's leading per game scorer the last game of the season after DeRozan held that from the first to the 81st game?
Wow.
Yeah. Just a little fun fact. Most important player for them, probably it's got to be DeRozan, I guess. If he's not hitting mid-range jumpers, then who is,
Oh, I know. So, what about you?
I am a mix between the two of you, so I have Nuggets in 6. Jokic is obviously MVP. I have Jamal Murray as MIP. Aldridge and DeRozan, like Kyle said, for the Spurs. Although certainly Popovich is the number one reason why they are where they are, meaning in the playoffs at all. Yeah, I think DeRozan, a long-standing player on my hate list. If he can hit mid-range jumpers at a clip never before seen, then maybe they'll be good.
Agreed. Egregiously agreed. All right. How about the number 3 Blazers versus the number 6 Thunder? This matchup switched in the last day.
Oh, dang, I didn't even realize that.
Holy shit, am I right?
Who would have thought the Blazers, second year in a row, would be the 3 seed?
I would think
After
that.
all of this turmoil this season.
I was born thinking that. I came out of the womb and I said to the nurse, Blazers, a 3rd seed.
2019, baby.
Call it. All right, so I'll just start because why wouldn't I? I have the Thunder in 6. I think you could talk me into either team actually here because Nurkic is injured and out for the Blazers, but Paul George doesn't seem right either, and he's the Thunder's best player. So I think there's a couple key injuries in this series, and otherwise I think these teams are pretty evenly matched. MVP for the Blazers, I have Dame, and MIP, I have Zach Collins, actually, because I think that he needs to fill in, 80 to 85% of what Nurkic does for them to have a chance, really, and he has been in and out of the rotation this season because he hasn't quite taken the leap they thought he would in his second season. So maybe if he does take that leap in the playoffs, they have a better chance of being the Thunder. For the Thunder, I have PG 13, so put the kids to bed for MVP. And MIP, I have Russ because, he just needs to hit shots in the playoffs, and he's not hitting many during the regular season. Seth, thoughts?
So I am taking Blazers in 7.
Talk me into it. I need to be talked to.
Well, early in the season, Paul George proved me wrong. After many seasons of me saying that he was overrated, he ended up outperforming what all of us thought he was going to do, right? More recently, he's come back down to earth. Most people assume this is attributed to a shoulder injury. Reports have been that he's spent, multiple hours getting his shoulder treated before games and all that good stuff. Mm-hmm. So I do have Paul George as MVP for the Thunder. I also have him as MIP because so far throughout the season, it's been like with George on the court, the Thunder are great. Without him, they're terrible.
Mhm.
So if he can be Paul George that we saw early in the season, then I think they'll have a chance. But I'm banking on him continuing kind of his mediocre for him stretch, and showing us like he has in the past, whether this year it's because of injury or just regression to his previous self. But I think he proved my point for many years that he wasn't a top tier NBA player. He was second tier. So that's why I'm taking Blazers in 7. Obviously, Dame is their MVP, and I think I'm taking CJ McCollum as the most important player, just wondering how healthy he's going to be and if he'll be playing to his full potential. I also thought about, who's going to fill in for Nurkic, if it's going to be Zach Collins who can step
Enos
up.
the penis.
It's going to be Enos the penis. Can you play Cantor will be a question some will be asking. So I had Enos the penis down there as well.
With the name like the penis, it's got to be good.
Sure.
Kyle?
Tough series, let me tell you. Injury ridden. This would have been so much more fun if both teams were fully healthy. However, I feel so weird picking the Thunder. You know, at one point I thought they were like the second or third best team, and now it just doesn't feel that way because of Paul George's injury, which we don't know how healthy he actually is.
Right.
So I think I'm going to say the Thunder in 7, but I'm not like super confident about that. Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be tough. It's going to be fun to watch, though, I think.
This might be
Blazers,
the closest series in the first round, honestly.
Yeah, I think so. Next one could be close to, but we'll talk about it. Blazers MVP, obviously, is Dame Dollar. Most important player, I got the penis himself, Enos. I'm so glad he didn't get killed by that country.
Yeah, dude, that was scary.
Thunder MVP. It's got to be Paulie George. The most important player, however, might be Russ. You know, if Russ is off, you know, he creates shots for so many other players. So if he's not on, those other role players that aren't Paul George are going to have a much tougher time finding a shot or finding, you know, a hole.
I have no trouble with that, I can assure you.
Good one.
Right. Thank you. Yes, that's my thoughts.
I feel like Seth didn't laugh at that at all, but just had to begrudgingly admit it was a good one. It was a professional encounter. How about this one could be another close series here, although I don't have it as one. This is 4-seeded Rockets versus the 5-seeded Jazz. I'm very excited to watch this series. Kyle, I want you to tell me what's going to happen.
The Rockets are going to win in 5 games.
Yeah.
Then they're going to go on to the second round and just get the Warriors done with. Stick a fork in them. They're done. Slap a sticker on them. They're canceled. It's cancel season. You already know the Warriors. That's it. Canceled. Just like the lotion I have in my room. I'm not even going to talk about it. The people know it's canceled. Rockets MVP. We already know. James.
You love him.
Jimmy Harden. Why don't we call him Jimmy? Don't they call James Jimmy's sometimes?
I do, but we're close.
We're close.
All right, well, so Jimmy Harden. The most important player, Chris Paul's knees.
Are they the bee's knees, though?
They're Embiid's knees. The Jazz regular season MVP. That's tough.
It is a tough one.
Is it, though?
I think I'm going to say Gobert.
Yeah.
And then the most important player is going to be Donnie Mitch.
It's tough for me. The toughest thing to pick in this discussion actually for me was Jazz MVP as well, because I feel like they don't have a chance without Gobert on the defensive end, and they don't have a chance on the offensive end without Donnie Mitchell, because he's the only one that creates his own shot, and he's their one high usage offensive player.
Exactly.
So I just split the difference. I went Donnie for MVP, Gobert for MIP with special recognition to Ingles in parentheses because he runs their pick and roll when Donnie's out and he's critical to them as the second
He
ball.
really only shows up in big games, though. You're never going to see a Sports Center highlight of him doing something on like the Knicks or anything like that. The only
Sounds like-
time he's hitting important like big threes or goes on a hot streak is against the Warriors, is against the Rockets, something like that. It's so weird.
Well, it's a good thing they're playing the Rockets then, huh?
They're gonna lose.
And it's the playoffs.
Yeah, I have the Rockets in 5 if you're ready to jive. And I have MVP Harden, MIP Chris Paul because he needs to stay healthy for them to make the finals.
PJ Tucker was up there on my MIP list.
PJ is in my parentheses.
Yeah.
If you know what I'm saying. Is that,
I had all the same as Kyle.
Thank you.
well, what the fuck? What am I to you? Am I a joke to you? All right. That's it then. That was the big NBA playoff palooza preview. Big summer.
Blowout.
Thank you. Let's go. Let's really close it up with a bang. The NBA end of season award picks. Now, how much time are we in right now?
Tough to say.
I regret to inform you we're 56 minutes again. And I regret to inform all of
56. Mine says an hour 4.
What?
Oh, that's the call. We've been talking to each other for an hour 4 minutes.
Don't scare me like that. All right, so I would say for these we'll list our honorable mentions, but not go into great detail about them. Really, just go into detail about your pick, okay?
Okay.
Everyone, great. MVP, who wants to start?
I got Giannis. I think
That's it. He just leaves the room.
I think he's better than everybody else. All the other players, out of all the players, Giannis is the best one. So
So why'd you pick him then?
obviously everyone has it like Giannis or Harden. I think Giannis is way better defensively, and the difference between them offensively is very slim. I mean, completely different styles, obviously, but both of them are extremely dominant. And I'd rather have Giannis on my team. And then just going through the rest of my picks, I had Harden second, Lillard, Paul George, and Steph.
No Jokic, huh?
Whoa.
Is that just to hurt Kyle? Be honest.
It was, yes. I wanted to hurt Kyle.
Great.
Dick.
Kyle, get him back.
Well, I had Harden as my MVP. Just like you said, there's so many arguments both ways for both Harden and Giannis, but I just think what James Harden did this year, averaging about 36 points per game, the most any player since Jordan, right, has averaged for a season.
Which Jordan? Michael or
Michael B. Jordan.
Jordan Clarkson or
Michael B. Jordan. So I think a lot of people underrate Harden's defense too. Like, I don't know. I watched a lot of their games this year, and he seemed a lot more active and engaged on defense. Like, he wasn't just standing there letting his man, cut past him for an easy basket. He was with his man at every time during like defensive stands. And I don't know, if it wasn't for Harden, this team wouldn't have been even in the playoffs. Yeah, I know they ended up being the 4 seed, but at one point they were up to the 2 seed. So I don't know. I just think what James Harden did really solidifies himself as this year's MVP.
Mm-hmm. Seth, what are you doing over there?
The only thing I would say about the only other point that I put in Giannis's favor was that James Harden had this incredible stretch where he basically put the Rockets on his back and saved their season. But it was also, he bears responsibility for the Rockets needing their season to be saved to begin with. Mm-hmm. Right? Their whole slide in the beginning of the season has to be partially on him. And Giannis didn't have to save the Bucks season because he led them from the beginning, and that's why they won 60 games, is because he wouldn't, they weren't like 6-12 at one point in the season. So
yeah, I mean, Harden for the first 18 games wasn't playing as well, and that's just fact. I think this is race in recent memory, and I think that there's no wrong answer here. But I'm going to go Giannis with a slight nod. I mean, he's averaging 27, 13, 5, which hasn't been
I
done.
bet you each $5 it's Harden that wins it.
Deal.
Okay, deal.
All right.
I'm
Write it
not
down
saying
now.
I'm not saying who's going to win. I'm just saying who I personally feel should win.
So you think it's going to be Harden?
No, I still think it'll be Giannis.
Okay.
But
I'm putting it in my
I
bets
think
notes.
those two things I'm in agreement. Yeah, honestly, although I wouldn't be surprised if it was either one, and I think they're both deserving. Giannis is the best player on the best team. They have 60 wins, and he's also, in my opinion, the best defender in the league. At least, I mean, we'll talk about it later in Defensive Player of the Year. But Harden, I agree, Kyle. He has been better on defense this year. He's, I think, third in the league in steals per game. And his post defense has always been solid, and especially so this year. But he's still not above average defender in my eyes. But he is scoring 36 points per game. I just think that a little bit of what Seth said about the start of the season and a little bit about how their team is slightly worse and a little bit of Giannis being the best defender really brings him up a notch above Harden, but I don't have a problem with either pick. My top five are Giannis, Harden, Jokic, PG, and then Steph. Kyle, you never said your top five, did you?
It was those, except I had Harden first, Giannis second.
Gotcha. All right. It's going to be interesting to see who wins. I think that
It's Harden.
it's going to be pretty split, don't you guys?
I think Harden won.
I think Giannis will win because of narrative and a lot of MVP voters.
You think his narrative is better than Harden's narrative?
I think just because he's never won it before, because we've seen Harden dominate, not 36 points per game, but he had a similar season to what he did last year. Giannis is the up-and-coming new star who made the leap this year.
I
got 5 on it, so it's all right.
I could
Harden
also
wins.
see the voters saying, Giannis, you'll have your time, but
Right.
we'll give it to Harden this year. I don't know.
Because
We'll
Harden carried a team into the playoffs with one of the most insane scoring runs that we've ever witnessed.
Don't you think? What do you think of like the supporting cast of Houston versus the supporting cast of Milwaukee? Like, I don't feel like the supporting cast of Milwaukee is necessarily even better. Do you?
Yes, I do. And it's just the system that they're in is built much better around Giannis than the system in Houston, I guess, is built around Harden.
I don't think that's really true. I mean, D'Antoni basically built the system in Houston for Harden in similar ways he did for Nash, right?
Yeah, I guess so. But I just think, I don't know.
I mean, the West is also harder than the East, but I do feel like the narrative of Harden dragging the team to the playoffs is like, I mean,
it's not even dragging.
Giannis
He didn't
also
drag them
dragged
to the playoffs. Like
players with no star, right? I mean, I don't know. Giannis doesn't have a second star on his team, and maybe you want to call Chris that, but I'd still rather have the other Chris.
It's fair.
I don't know. I think it's really close.
But I mean, after Chris Paul, what do you have? Oh, I guess you have. Never mind.
So, Kyle, do you feel like really strongly in Harden, and you think Giannis would be the wrong answer, and you think that would be a poor choice, or?
No, I don't think it would be a poor choice. I just think, Harden is just. It's not like he's far and away the number one choice. I see both sides of the argument. I just think seeing what Harden did this year, and like you said, I think that's a big part of me staying away from Giannis is that narrative that he's 24 and he still isn't completely developed as the type like player that we're going to see him be in the NBA. Like, just wait until next year when he comes back and he's hitting 3 threes a game. Then he for sure wins the MVP.
Yeah, I just don't necessarily feel like I should be forced to wait on a player I think is already the best player,
Yeah, I don't think so either, but I just think what Harden did is, when's the next time we're going to see someone average 36 points a game? I don't know.
Yeah, it's going to be a while. Unless he does it again next year, all right?
Next year, yeah. Right.
It's going to be a close race. I'm excited to see how that plays out. Seth, any final thoughts? Any parting jabs?
None.
Good. Let's move on then to Defensive Player of the Year, which also is a little bit of a toss-up, I think. I'll just go ahead. I have Giannis first, Gobert second, Paul George third. You could definitely talk me into Gobert. Or you could talk me into a lot of people. I'm a weak man devoid of any principles. So I could be talked into anything. Yeah, I went with Giannis just because I feel like often, and I said this before, but often the Defensive Player of the Year goes to a rim stopping center. But I just feel like when push comes to shove in the playoffs or in an important game, they're going to put Gobert in a pick and roll, and I don't feel confident they can handle a ball handler on the switch. Whereas I feel more confident that Giannis is one of the maybe 2 or 3 players in the NBA who can cover all 5 positions substantially, and he averages a lot of steals and blocks if that's what you're into, and I think that he anchors the league's best defense. So I gave the nod to Giannis. When's the last time someone won an MVP and a Defensive Player of the Year? Jordan probably did that, right?
I would guess.
Kyle, look it up. Seth, who do you
I
have?
think so too.
I had those 3. I put Gobert ahead of Giannis, but like you, I'm could be swayed either way. I kind of like how you're talking about maybe the MVP should go to Harden because Giannis is gonna win it the next 20 years. It's like maybe Gobert should get Defensive Player of the Year because he's not going to win anything else. So he's
Jordan
like
and
a defensive
Hakeem.
specialist. Hakeem.
Oh,
The only 2 to ever win both in the same year.
Kyle,
I had the same as you, Sam. Giannis, Gobert, George. That order.
Cool.
Same reasons you listed.
Baby, I always knew you were my favorite. All right, let's go Rookie of the Year. I think this one, although it's been maybe publicized as being close, isn't that close in my mind. But what are your thoughts, Kyle?
I am with you. I think I have Doncic, Rookie of the Year, Trey at 2. Really 3, I didn't really know what to do. I thought maybe Jaren Jackson Jr., but it's like
It's 3 players, so
not just 3 players. He showed good stuff, but at the same time didn't really do a whole lot and couldn't stay out of foul trouble. So I don't know. I don't think it matters after the first 2 anyways. So
agreed.
I just think what Doncic did and all his, the dude's 19 years old, triple doubles galore his first year in the NBA. Yeah, Trey had a very hot last month and a half of the season.
In hot Atlanta, baby. Peace up, A-Town down. Am I right, folks?
Right, exactly. I don't know. I just think Doncic right now is the more complete player.
Yeah.
He's got the same step back 3 that Harden has. It's just beautiful to watch him play. It's majestic.
Really fucking gets me going. Put the kids to bed. I have Doncic in a landslide over Trey, but I think Trey's the for sure number 2 for me. And I think that it's nice that trade might work out well for both teams. The pre-draft trade or during the draft.
Watch out for Atlanta next year, bro. I'm telling you.
I'll be watching out for them. And I think I put Aiden at 3 just because he's had a solid. I mean, he's like 16 and 10, averaging a double-double. Has played most of the games. He's had a good season. It really doesn't seem like there are many swings and misses in the top 5. I mean, this is a very deep rookie class, but I think Luka separated himself from everyone else.
Right.
I agree with everything you both said. The only thing I would add is that I would have Bagley as the 3rd spot had he not gotten injured.
For sure.
I agree with you 100%. The injury, though, really dissuaded me.
Yeah. Let's go to Coach of the Year. This is a tough one because I don't know. I just feel like 10 different coaches could win it every year, and you could just go Pop every year if you wanted to. And this is especially the year where you might have gone Pop since he propped up a Spurs team with not much talent to the 7th seed. That being said, he didn't even crack my top 3. Even though I listed him as the MVP for the Spurs. But I have no principles. What's your list?
I have my old friend, Doc Rivers.
Yeah.
winning Coach of the Year. The fact that the Clippers traded their best player and then got better is
Yeah.
astounding to me.
Right.
So props to Doc for that. I have Coach Bud as kind of the obvious choice, best coach or the coach on the team with the best record. Big improvement from last year. And then I think Nate McMillan for the Pacers should be mentioned as well for what he's done post Oladipo injury, and another one of those teams that is more than the sum of their parts. And so I think that oftentimes we need to recognize coaches who can do that with their teams.
Yeah, I think that often the coach of the year just goes to the best team. What I usually try to do when I vote on it, which I don't, but for this podcast I do, I usually try to go for a team that doesn't have as much talent outperforming their talent, right? So that led me to make Doc first because he really has no superstar or star even to speak of, and yet he led the Clippers to the 8th seed. Then I had to go Bud number 2, even though he does have a star in his team. To be honest, I think the team has still outperformed expectations, and just I guess anything would have been an improvement over Jason Kidd, but just the way he turned it around was really stark in comparison. So, and then 3 I have Mike Malone because I think that though the Nuggets have 1 star and Jokic, the rest of their team, I don't see any of them as all stars. Because none of them made the All-Star team. That's why I don't see anything.
They're the only team
Good.
to improve their record. I think it's like 5 years in a row now.
Really?
Under Malone, yeah. However long he's been coach.
Don't you think we've improved our record 5 podcasts in a row?
Definitely.
I think we're going downhill at this point. We peaked.
Kyle, what do you have?
I have Bud, my number 1 choice. Just the turnaround from last year, and then having the team, the number one team with the biggest point differential of any other team in the NBA. I think that's just huge. He just did a perfect job, building a team around a player, knowing exactly what that player needed and how to accommodate what he needs to make him and the rest of the team better. So Malone second, I had to do it to him. And then Doc seems like the very easy number 3 choice.
That's why you're not with Doc.
That's why I have him Doc / David Yeager.
That would be hilarious if Yeager won best coach. And
there's no way. I mean, they didn't make the playoffs, so he's not gonna win it. But I mean, they did. They had like 26 wins last year. He brought them to 39, and if Bagley doesn't get hurt, they're fighting for a playoff, like the 7th, 8th seed in the playoff. I would think.
For sure, yeah. Yeah, he needs to get consideration because I think before the season, a lot of us thought they'd be one of the worst teams in the league. You know what's funny, actually? No one's talked about Nick Nurse for best coach of the year at all, right? But if he was in discussion, it could be between a Doc and a Nurse for coach of the year. And I'd love to see that. All right, let's move on to most improved player, MIP. And not the MIP from earlier, though. Keep that in mind. So I'll just start because Seth's in shambles. I'm going to go with your boy. We all know him. We all love him. Pascal Siakam. I mean, last year was kind of like, boy, this guy really just has a lot of energy. He really runs it up and down the court, and he just brings a lot of things to the table energy-wise, and that was kind of it. But this year, he's a legit stopper on defense and offensive star in the making. He already is a star, basically, and the leap he's taken has been astounding, and that spin move is unstoppable. We love that. Maybe when he just spins around the defender. I'm getting no feedback from Seth, but I'm looking at this. I know he agrees with me. And number 2, I have D'Angelo, who obviously we know all about him. He was bemoaned in the Lakers as just not being good enough, and he's taken the Nets to the playoffs this year and was an all-star. 3rd, I have De'Aaron Fox. I really thought hard about a couple of people for this. I thought hard about my boy Vucci down in Orlando. But De'Aaron just made a leap that we kind of didn't expect, although you do expect players to improve in their second year. It's not quite like this. He's added so much to his game. He's gotten to be a better passer and manipulator of defenses off the pick and roll, and he's gotten to be a knockdown three-point shooter even off the dribble. He's just become an incredible player, and I'm really excited to see how he keeps improving in years past from now. Years past, years forward, days of future past, X-Men.
Years to come.
Of course.
Yes.
Kyle, what's your list?
I had to put my Stogie Boy up there for this entire list is Stogie Boy, surprisingly. Maybe unsurprisingly, I don't know. Up there though in my heart, D'Angelo Russell. Just the improvement obviously that he's had. I think he's added 5 to 6 points per game from last year, 2 to 2.5 assists per game from last year, and just the way he plays and reads a defense now, and the pick and rolls that he's able to run with Jared Allen. And he's just number one for me. Siakam, a very close second, due to everything that you said.
Boy.
And number 3, I have someone listed here, but I was thinking about it just when you were talking, and I think I'm going to change it. Originally, I have Buddy Hield. Understandable. Originally, I also thought maybe Marcus Smart. Highest 3-point percentage of his career. He was a big part of that Celtics team. But my number 3, and I'm sticking with him now, Bradley Beal. I don't know if it's I think it's just a product of, Wall being out and him being forced to be the number 1. But the way he ran that offense this year, with a pretty ragtag group of guys around him, putting up huge numbers on a nightly basis, I think it really proved that if a team wanted to go at him to make him their number 1, they know that they can have a number 1 in Bradley Beal,
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Most improved player is kind of vague on what the criteria is, and it's interesting we don't talk about players like Giannis for most improved player, where he's ascended from a star to the best player in the league in some eyes, or like Paul George, who was a great player but was an MVP candidate this year. We seem to only reserve it for young players or players who are not stars, right, but have turned from like a role player into kind of a star. That seems to be it's interesting that it just kind of turned into that when there's really a loose criteria for it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Giannis will get enough awards, so we can save this for other people.
Yeah, it's not the only thing that's loose.
Put the kids to bed. I swear to God.
So I'm going to go with Pascal for this one. I had Fox and Vooch as my next 2, but I think I'll probably switch in D'Angelo for Vooch. Because in the second half of the season, I think Russell has shown a little bit more. But yeah, Sam, you talked a little bit about Pascal. I think he's catapulted the Raptors up to top team in the East, up with the Bucks. And I think he deserves a lot of credit for keeping the Raptors afloat in all of those games when Kawhi was resting. So I'm going to go with Siakam there.
I love every part of that, and I love you. Will you marry me?
Love you too, man.
All right. 6th man of the year. This is the last one, boys. Power through. Seth, I want you to start, and I want you to fart. What's your list of 3?
I'm going to have Lou Williams as my 6th man of the year. I really don't know who my other 2 are. I might just say Montrezl Harrell as well, even though I guess he'd be the 7th man on their team.
Right. Yeah, that's true. I didn't even think about it that way. Yeah.
Iggy is always in the conversation. I know other people have mentioned.
He's a Finals MVP.
Don't even get me started about the Finals MVP. Some people mentioned Gordon. I wouldn't put him there yet. Maybe if you just took the last 2 weeks of the season. Yeah, I don't really know. I think Lou's got it. pretty well in hand.
For sure. Kyle?
Yeah, Lou, sweet Lou. Runner up, I had Sabonis, and then
Oh yeah, I like Sabonis. I'd do that.
I had Harrell at 3. Montrezl Harrell.
Yeah, Lou is averaging 20 points in 26 minutes,
Is
which
that
is pretty good. I mean, it's not great, but I'll still pick him. I have Montrez second, which I didn't even think about that. That is kind of crazy. I wonder if that's ever happened from the same team. And then third, I have Sabonis as well, who is the registered Stogie boy in 49 states.
I forgot about Sabonis. I like
Minus Alaska.
Of course. Why would he be registered in Alaska? That's just foolish.
Alaska's canceled.
Any parting words for our fans or for the nation as a whole?
My groin hurts. I don't know why.
Hanging out with LeBron too much?
Whoa.
Good one. What do you mean by that, though?
No, he has a hurt groin, which was because of making love to me too hard. I brought LeBron back into my bed chambers. I told him I missed him, but it was all a ploy to sabotage the Lakers season.
Holy shit.
First.
I'm surprised we didn't talk about Dirk or Wade at all on this.
I actually did want to mention them as a
I
closing
have
thought.
something to say as well.
Okay.
About Dirk and Wade, but you
Okay.
can.
Well, I was just gonna say I'm really gonna miss them, and like watching the highlights of their last few games and seeing all the send-offs really got me. I'll admit I was emotional. I'll say it.
Right.
I'm an emotional man.
As was I. Dirk Nowitzki was one of my all-time favorite players. Honestly, Wade, I've always been very fond of Dwayne as well.
Mm-hmm.
But Dirk has a special place, a soft spot in my heart, if you will, which my heart is entirely mush at this point. However, I've been to Dirk Nowitzki's driveway.
Right.
I also, just listening to Bill Simmons, still, after 21 years in the NBA, calling him Nowitzki is outrageous to me. And I know Bill has this thing where he can't pronounce players' names.
Right.
But I don't understand how people can't get it in their heads that a W in German makes a V sound in English.
Well, not everyone's been in his driveway, so they don't truly feel the power.
But
it says on his mailbox it actually has a V there, so that's the only reason you know. Oh my God, we've lost him. And he was mid-rant, too, which makes it ever more sweet that he got frozen on Skype. Kyle, tell me, just finish this off with some Dirk and Wade talk, please.
Yeah, so Seth gets to talk about W's and V's. I would never once in his entire career spelled Dwayne Wade's first name right, considering I believe it's D-Y-W, right? A-N-E?
No, I don't think so. It's
D-W-Y-A-N-E. Who the hell does that? That's Dwayne.
I think it's pretty common, but I'm not really sure.
If it didn't spell it like that, we would have never had the Kanye, Shanye, Dwanye, and the boys.
The boys have to be mentioned.
The boys playlist, back in the day. So shout out D Wade.
He said his power is out. His work phone is dead. He can't do his hotspot. He might be naked. I'm not sure.
We'll never know.
All right. Well, Kyle, just tell me on the third day what happened, and I'll be satisfied.
It's coming up soon here. You'll all find out. Y'all better get your asses to mass, because on the third day he rose again.
Very nice. Thank you.